Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charleston, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a pretty interesting show for you guys that we definitely want you guys to stick around for. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. So as y'all know, yesterday was a pretty big day in the NBA once again for another big move that was made, that Russell Westbrook was ultimately bought out from the Utah Jazz and decided that he was going to sign with the Los Angeles Clippers. We did a live about it. Now, during that live, I had a lot of things to say, but today I want to really summarize some of my thoughts because doing a live is a little bit different than just kind of sitting down and concentrating and doing this. So one of the sentiments that I got out there was kind of the knee-jerk reaction, which was, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. There's no way it's going to work. There's no way it's going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. No. In fact, a prominent voice in sports media, Skip Bayless, actually said the same thing. Oh, what are you thinking? Kawhi won't be happy, X, Y, and Z. Now, I don't know all of those things. That's just Skip's opinion. But there were a good amount of people out there that felt as if it was not going to work. And for me, some people say, well, you're being biased because you're a Clipper fan. Not really. Because the Clippers had other acquisitions that I didn't think was going to work. So it has nothing to do with that. But I sat back and kind of thought about it from an X and O standpoint. And after kind of going through the various strategies that the Clippers can implement and actually taking a closer look at the personnel that the Clippers have, I actually came away thinking that, no, there's a real possibility that it could absolutely work. And by work, I mean at least work better than it worked in the Lakers locker room with the Los Angeles Lakers. First of all, let me quickly say this. The reason that the Russell Westbrook Lakers experiment didn't work had nothing to do with Russell Westbrook being a bad player. I think it's important that we outline this from the very beginning, because if Russell Westbrook was a very good player, there's no way that they would have had the Lakers such as the team to represent the Western Conference. When that trade initially went down, Stephen A. Smith, Kendrick Perkins, so many others thought that this team was going to be a juggernaut in the West. Why? Because they were looking at the caliber of player that Russell Westbrook was. So I think it's important that we state that from the onset. Russell Westbrook was a hell of a basketball player. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been so many people out there twerking it up, thinking that the Lakers were going to win. I think it's important that we say this because this was only 2 years ago. This has been 25 years ago. Our memories still work. That's the first thing I want to say. Secondly, the simple reason Russell Westbrook did not work with the Lakers is because it's from an X and O standpoint and some other things that had to take place in terms of agendas and narratives. From an X and O standpoint, it just was a poor fit. Why? Because Russell Westbrook and LeBron James games didn't match. They play similar styles of basketball. Not saying that Russell Westbrook is as good as LeBron James, no. But they play a very similar style. And when you have two players that play a very similar style, that are very ball dominant, it's not going to work. And that's what some of us out here were looking at when we initially were scrutinizing that trade. Like, wait a minute. How is this thing supposed to work on the court? Why? What are we talking about? Well, Russell Westbrook is a ball-dominant guy. LeBron James is also a ball-dominant guy. That's number one. Number two, Russell Westbrook is not a great outside shooter. Neither is LeBron James. Let me burst some of you people's bubbles because some people may be under some type of illusion that, oh, no, Russell Westbrook is terrible, blah, 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 blah. He's really not. Do you know Russell Westbrook is shooting almost the exact same three-point shooting percentage as LeBron this season? Russell Westbrook is shooting 29.6% from three. LeBron is shooting 31%. So in terms of spacing, it was a nightmare. They were not going to work from a spacing standpoint. If you look at LeBron James, the formula that he has used in the past to extract success from teams is simply this. He needs to play with guys that can space the floor from him, which can allow him to attack the basket, get into the teeth of the defense, then start making decisions. That's generally how he works. He cannot play with personnel that cannot stretch the floor. And therein lied the problem. That's the first thing. The second reason it didn't work, it was all of the extracurricular stuff by all of the excessive criticism that Russell Westbrook was receiving off the court, which I believe affected him. You know why? Because he's a human being. He's not a robot. He's a person. He has ears. I didn't know of any other NBA player that consistently, every time he went up to shoot a shot, the entire arena would gasp. So he did play poorly, but I believe ultimately it wasn't a good fit. Now, let's look at it from an X and O standpoint, not an emotional standpoint, but let's look at it from an X and O standpoint in terms of Russell Westbrook and the Clippers. Russell Westbrook and the Clippers will be a better fit for a few reasons. Number one, the Clippers are one of the slowest teams in the NBA in terms of pace. So Russell Westbrook still does have his speed. He is still very athletic. He can still beat, he can still get to his spots in the open court and beat guys. That's the first thing. The second thing is simply this of the personnel. I'll give you guys an example. If you put Russell Westbrook on the court with one of the Clippers' small ball lineups, let me give you guys an example. Let me run an experiment. You have Russell Westbrook at the 1. You have Paul George at the 2. You have Kawhi Leonard at the 3. You have Marcus Morris Sr. at the 4. You have Nicholas Batum at the 5. That's their small ball lineup. What do those other guys, apart from Russell Westbrook, have in common? Paul George is a 38% three-point shooter. Kawhi Leonard is a 38% three-point shooter. Marcus Morris Sr. is a 38% three-point shooter. What's the other guy? Nicholas Batum is shooting 37.8% from the three-point line. So therefore, even if you have Russell Westbrook on the floor, it doesn't really affect your spacing. It really doesn't. So the issues that the Lakers had when you had LeBron, Westbrook, AD, it was exacerbated because there was no real spacing and they needed to get him off the floor somehow. The Clippers don't have that issue. Now, some people will say, well, if I'm an opposing defense, I'll force Russell Westbrook to do that. Okay, how are you going to do that? Do you have 7 players on the court with you? How are you going to do it? Let's just think about it from a practical standpoint. Okay, you're going to double who? You're going to double Paul George. Okay, you send 2 to him. You're left with 3 players. You're left with 3 players. You sent 2 to 1. You're left with 3. They have 4 available. Okay, I'm going to double Kawhi. Okay, really, you're going to double Kawhi. You sent 4 players. So you're going to leave open Marcus Morris Sr. and Nicholas Batum for an entire series, and you think they're not going to tear your defense to shreds? Really? Is that what you're going to do? No, it's not what you're going to do. So I think that he's able to help them in that way, and spacing is not going to be an issue. Listen to one of the things they complained about all season long, although the Lakers did not play any defense last year. But one of the things they complained about, the Lakers have no shooting. The Lakers have no shooting. When have you ever heard anybody say that about the Clippers? Where did you ever hear that? Then if you go to the Clippers bench, you have a guy like Norman Powell, who's coming off the bench, who could arguably be the 6th man of the year this year. Norman Powell is shooting 41% from the 3 coming off the bench. Then you just also added Eric Gordon to the mix, who's also an elite scorer coming off the bench for these guys. So to me, I think it's a perfect fit. I think it's a fit that will work. Let me just say this. Now, in terms of various machinations, in terms of, okay, well, is he going to be the starting point guard? Is he going to be coming off the bench? I don't really know. I don't really care. I trust that Ty Lue is going to be able to make the difficult decisions to put the best lineup out there to win games. I've seen him bench players for entire series. I don't think Ty Lue is one of those guys that has an issue with benching certain players. Also, I think that before Russell Westbrook decided to sign with the Clippers, I think it was under a different set of stipulations versus when he signed with the Los Angeles Lakers. What am I alluding to? When he signed with the Lakers, I'm sure no one told him that, hey, do you know that there's a chance that you may end up going to the bench? I don't think Russell Westbrook signs with that team had he known that, which created friction. In this particular instance here, I think they would have ran through a litany of the various possibilities that Russell Westbrook could find himself in, maybe coming off the bench, maybe not closing the fourth quarter at certain occasions, maybe starting, maybe his minutes not being stagnated depending on the lineup and all of those different things. And therefore, if he accepts that going in, then there's no quarrels. There's no quarrels. There's not going to be any palaver when they get there. So to me, I think it works better from an X and O standpoint, from an understanding standpoint. And finally, I think it also works because Russell Westbrook is going to be motivated to prove a point. I think he's going to be motivated to prove a point and really try to go out there and help this team make a long run. Now, I'm not saying that this acquisition makes the Clippers the championship favorites, because I think that they were one of the best teams out there even before they had Russell Westbrook. But what I am saying is that from an X and O standpoint and from an emotional standpoint, I think that this is going to work a lot better with the Clippers than it did with the Lakers. So what I want to know from you guys is, what do you think about the arguments that I put forward? And ultimately, what are your thoughts about this acquisition? Do you think it ultimately works or blows up in their faces? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts in the comment section, and we catch you guys on the next show. Peace.